सर
नमस्कार।
हाँ सर, नमस्ते जी, क्या हाल है?
बस बस ठीक है सर। सर सती सर।
यस यस
सर, बैक साइड से बहुत लाइट आ रहा है आपके फेस पे, वो पर्दा अगर बंद कर देंगे ना तो
अच्छा ठीक है,
रिफ्लेक्शन हो रहा है लाइट का।
ठीक है ठीक है। आपको जमा?
सम लिटिल बेटर सर।
अच्छा, मैं आप कल से अपनी सीट चेंज कर दूंगा यार, मैंने ये गलत सीट लगा ली यहाँ पे, ये बहुत अंधेरा हो रहा है।
चेहरे पर रोशनी नहीं आ रही है सर उससे आपके।
अब अभी भी आ रही है ना? अभी
अब ठीक है सर, विजिबल हैं आप, लेकिन
अच्छा।
वो सब पर्दा खोलने से बहुत ज्यादा लाइट आ रही थी, जिसकी वजह से भी देखने में मुश्किल हो रही थी। तो
हो सकता है मैं ऐसा करूं। अब क्या है?
हाँ, अब अच्छा है सर।
अब ठीक है सर, अब बेहतर है।
या नाउ इट इज गुड, इट इज गुड सर। So, dear participant, we are very happy. I think Sati sir is mute.
I think internet problem. Photo freezed. Maybe because he turned his laptop, na, so maybe wire disconnected.
अब ठीक है सर?
हाँ ठीक है सर। That's okay.
वो गलत हो गया था थोड़ा सा।
So, dear participant, today the last session we are going to start a very eminent scholarly personality, Professor V P Sati, a renowned geographist and senior professor in Department of Geography, Mizoram University, Aizawl. So, sir, I welcome you in the 5th FIP program of the organized by HRDC Mizoram University, sir. So, with this small introduction, because you are among us, HRDC belong to you university only. So, sir have a very prolific authors, writing many articles, many good article, books and all. And I welcome you, sir. And now directly I am handing over the session to you for your presentation, sir.
Okay, thank you, Manoj ji. It is too much for me anyway, because nowadays your graph is more than me. Your graph increasing in academic field. The rate is higher than me. Anyway, thank you so much for your very kind introduction. And Bhartendu ji is also there, sir. Good afternoon. And yes, so good afternoon, all the participants of this program. I cannot see you also, but you can see me here. Today, I would like to talk on some specific themes on Himalaya. So let me to first share my screen. So today I am going to talk on resource development, environment interface in the Himalaya. So most of you may belong to the different parts of India and also different disciplines. And some of you may be belonging to the mountain regions. My topic is now, actually, I wanted to tell you that what are the resources they are found in the Himalayan region, and what is the rate of development and what is environment of this mighty Himalaya, and what is then resource development environment interface. So that I will just talk on this, and I have 1.5 hours. So I will try to complete on time. So these will be the outlines of my presentation. I will talk on introduction and objectives, locational view, salient features. I will also talk about that the resources potentials in the Himalaya in terms of agriculture, in terms of fauna, flora, water, and tourism. I will also talk about the environmental conditions and also the environmental developmental conditions and also the environmental conditions. Then I will little talk about the natural hazards and disasters. And finally, I will conclude my work. So my first question is now whether you can see these slides. The slides are moving or not. That is my question. Sometimes it is problem while slides are moving.
Sir, we are
Anyone you
seeing
can check.
first slide
Yeah,
only,
it
sir.
is. Oh, that's why. So I was afraid about this. Sometimes then I will go only like this. I will not go for full slide.
Okay,
I will
okay,
go
sir.
for only this. This is now moving.
Yeah, moving now, sir. Now second one.
Yeah, so I will not go for the full slide.
Okay.
This will be good. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bhartendraji.
Yes.
So, you know that this when we talk about the resource environment and development interface, it is a crucial issue in the Himalaya as it is characterized by the phenomenon of plenties and scarcities, which means that the Himalayan region has plenty of resources. At the same time, the Himalaya is facing scarcities, lots of scarcities there. The availability of food, the availability of water, while the natural resources are very abundant. So this is actually the interface between resources, environment, and development. It means that the Himalayan region obtains abundant natural resources and suitable climate, but the resources are not harnessed optimally, and therefore the region is underdeveloped. The main objective of this study is to analyze resources, potential, economic development, environmental conditions, and natural disasters. And we have used both qualitative and quantitative approaches to conduct this study and complete this write-up. So you can see this is the mighty Himalaya, a locational view of the Himalaya. From Pamir North to the Arakan Yoma mountain of the Burma, and Pamir North is surrounded by India, Pakistan, Tibet, and also Afghanistan, Tajikistan. The total Himalayan range is about 2,500 kilometers long, as I told you, from Pamir North to the Arakan Yoma, the Patkoi and Chin Hills, those are from Mizoram University or Mizoram, they understand the Chin Hills and Patkoi ranges. So you can see in the north side of the Himalaya also the Tibet Autonomous Region and the Great Plateau of Tibet, the highest tableland in the world. And the downwards is the Gangetic Valley, the Brahmaputra Valley, and also towards the Pakistan, the Sindh River Valley is going. So if you see this map, location of Uttarakhand, this Himalaya and the Himalayan states, so you can see that the Himalaya is divided into basically the 4 horizontal divisions: Western Himalaya, Central Himalaya, Eastern Himalaya, and the eastern extensions of the Himalaya. Those are belonging to Nagaland, Manipur, and you know that this Mizoram, they all are come under the eastern extension of the Himalaya. So there are 12 states. They are located within the Himalaya. Today I am talking only about the Himalayan region, not because Himalaya is also extended in Tibet in Bhutan area, or in also the north part also. In the western part, it is also located in Pakistan, but I'm talking about today the Indian Himalayan regions. And mainly I'm talking about my case study is on the Uttarakhand Himalaya, which is an integral part of the Himalayan region. So if you see that the Indian Central Himalaya, I'm talking today, and if you see the salient features of that area is that it shares 1.6% of the India's total land, and also you know that total population is very less. It is about 110 million. And then I will not go for this because this is not much useful. But you see that this Indian Central Himalaya, about 93% is mountainous, fragile, unstable, and active landscape. And it has about 60% of the mountainous area is snow covered. Climate varies from subtropical to temperate and frigid cold. And its economy is agriculture, livestock, forest-based economy. So this is something about the salient features of that region. It was important to me to just highlight about this region, about the socio-economic features. So I will just talk about what are the natural resources potentials in this region, because my study is divided into mainly three parts. One is the natural resources potential, another is the development conditions, then environmental conditions and natural hazards, and then I conclude it. So these are some outlines of my presentation. So if you see the floral diversity of the Central Himalayan region, you will find that it has a very rich biodiversity. And Central Himalaya is one of the hot spot of the biodiversity, faunal, floral, as well as agro-biodiversity. I will show you something later on. So if you see you know that the vertical extension of that floral diversity in the Himalaya from below 800 meter to more than 3,500 meter, a long way altitude ranging, and according to ranging altitude, rising altitude, the forest types also changing. So high diversity. So in the valley regions below 800 meter, monsoon deciduous forests are found. And in between, and then there are pine forests. They are located between 800 to 1600 meter. In between, there are bushes. So that very clear-cut line, silver line, you can see in between these forests. Then again, there are mixed oak forests located between 1600 to 2200 meter, very clearly visualized and very clearly shown there. Then there are coniferous forest in between 2200 meter to 2800 meter. Then alpine meadows, they are called alpine grassland in the Himalaya. They are between 2800 to 3500 meter. And then we have the greater Himalaya, which are covered by snow throughout the year, and the altitude is more than 3,500 meters. So this is actually the vertical extension of the floral diversity in the Himalaya. Very peculiar, you cannot find this type of floral diversity in any other regions of the world, because the characteristics or the climate of the Himalaya ranging from subtropical to temperate to subtemperate to the, you know, that cold and frigid cold, like this. So if you see the forest products coming out from the Himalaya, the central Himalayan regions, they are providing goods and services for the people. This is very new concept in, you know, that ecology, ecosystem services are very new concept in the academic field. So among the goods, the major goods are provided by forest, like firewood, fodder, timber, non-timber forest products, medicinal plants, resin, and ringal. They are the main goods. Goods means they are direct, services, direct services. The people of that central Himalayan region are directly extracting from the forest area. Then another is services providing, means they are indirect services like soil conservation. So the dense forest areas always conserve the soil because their roots are, getting very dense in the soil, and till they are live, the forests are existing, then they control the soil erosion. They are the protection and regulation of water supply also, because in the areas where dense forests are found, they are good. They are providing good services for water, keeping water in their roots and then supplying to the nearby people. So the areas where there are no forests found, like the desert area of the Thar desert in Rajasthan or other desert, you will find that water scarcity. But in areas where forests are found, they are keeping lots of water and supplying. So central Himalayan region, because it has very rich forest, very dense forest, so they are actually supplying water, huge water to the rural population. They are also keeping climate moderate, because forests are the tools for keeping climate moderates. And in the areas where forests are densely distributed, then you can find that that the climate is always very good in forest areas, in surrounding of forest areas. But on the other hand, if you go to areas where there are no forest, they are converted into the deserts, so climate is very horrible, like the Rajasthan region of India. But in Mizoram, if you see the Mizoram also, one of the beauty of the climate of Mizoram, good climate, is only due to the forest, very dense forest they are found. So also they absorb the dust. Therefore, you cannot find the environmental quality is always good. So in central Himalayan region particularly, because if you go there, you will find that the climatic conditions are very good. No dust, because of all the dust are absorbed by these forests, because they are good also in carbon sequestration. Carbon sequestration means the carbon emission, whatever we are emitting in the atmosphere, they are polluting the environment, like the Ganges Valley or other places. But if you go to the Himalaya, the Himalayan forest sequestrates carbon, so the environment is very clean and good, healthy. And also the forests are the home for habitats for wildlife. They are home for wildlife, wild animals, flora and fauna. So that they are providing good habitat for the wildlife, these forests. And if you see, I will show you one slide that also the that wildlife population and also the diversity in that central Himalayan part is very huge. And Himalaya is also the the center for recreation. Lots of tourism development is there. Tourists going there every year, mainly during the summer when climatic conditions are very visible. So that's why this Himalayan region has very huge resources, providing livelihood to the people, and that providing all kind of the health facilities and livelihood. That's why we are talking about this. But when you see that development scenario, even though there are lots of natural resources, even because of the lacking in infrastructure facilities, the women, you can see that they are carrying the grasses on their shoulder and feeding the animal for the dairy farming or running their livelihoods. Similarly, in the era of when lots of development has been taken in India also, but this region has still backwarded, because they meet their fuel wood from the forest, cutting forest every morning, going cutting and then coming. So these are some scenario there. But on the other hand, if you can see the fauna diversity in that region, so that central Himalaya is one of the that faunal diversity hotspot. All types of fauna are found there, wild animals are found there. In terms of water resources, this central Himalayan region having very huge and abundant water. Because if you see the Ganges system, the Ganga and its tributaries, all are originating from that central Himalayan region, making this region very beautiful and also supplying huge water to the downstream area. So the Ganges valley is rich because of the river originating from the Himalaya, the central Himalayan region. If there is no central Himalaya, then there is no Ganges valley, and then there is no people livelihood in the Ganges valley. That starts from Haridwar to this, and it goes to the West Bengal and also the Bangladesh, and all the people living in the Ganges valley, their livelihood is dependent on these the water resources coming from the central Himalayan regions. Major rivers are Yamuna, Kali Ganga, Bhagirathi system, Alagnanda, Ram Ganga. And if you see that that annual drainage in crore cubic meter, you will find that lots of water is draining from this region. So I told you that the central Himalaya has the plenty of water, but all is draining to the downstream area. And the people, they are facing lots of problem, water scarcity during the this summer season, mainly from winter and summer season. So you can see some pictures of water resources potential, the mighty Himalaya, and the river. You can see that Alaknanda River, that is Alaknanda River flowing in the valley regions, having a huge potential of water because of all the glaciers melting in the highland, and that water is draining, and then it is going to the Ganga Valley, then Bangladesh and West Bengal. So that very huge potential is there in terms of snow, glaciers, and rivers. And if you see the Himalaya itself called as a water tower of the world. Water tower, it is also called the third pole because lots of water is there in terms of the glacier and snow. Snow melting during summer season and draining through rivers, and it is going to the Bay of Bengal. So this picture, you can see that the agglomeration of the mountain peaks, and in between somewhere there is Mount Everest. So if you are flying from Kathmandu to Lhasa, Tibet, you can find somewhere the Mount Everest on the way, because Mount Everest is on the way to in these two cities, Kathmandu and Lhasa. So that's why the Himalaya has what I'm talking about. It is resourceful, very resourcefully, very means having huge resources. Yes, there are some water resource use patterns also, because there are some hydropower projects, and also the people using the water of the rivers to grinding flours and other grains for their food. Some machines are working there, grinding machines, and they are providing livelihood to the people. But the situation is very critical and very poor. So this is actually the economic scenario. Agriculture is the main occupation of the people of that central Himalayan region, but the output is not, enough to feed the people. So that they have traditional subsistence farming. Methods of cultivation are also traditional, and then consequently the output is very low. You can see that picture also, that because in terms of the agrobiodiversity, the central Himalayan region is very huge and rich agrobiodiversity. It is also called the biodiversity hotspot. So if you see this, then omen also, the omen of the Himalayan regions are called the backbone of the economy, and all the agriculture systems, they are dependent on the omen of the Himalayan region, because all work is done by them. Men are generally out migrated to the plain region for getting better services, sending remittances to their family members. But still, that is not enough to feed the family or for a sustainable livelihood. Therefore, whatever the resources are found there, they are not enough to feed the people, local people. Again, agriculture system is very rich also, but because the arable land is very less, only 18% of the total geographical area. There are the highland agriculture practices which are rain-fed. All crops are grown under rain-fed situation. They are irrigated by rainfall, this monsoon rainfall. And valley regions, some valley regions are there where arable land is irrigated because small tributaries are there, but their area is very less. And then you can see that this animal husbandry is also developing there. Dairy farming is developing there. And the people of that region has started rearing the high yield variety animals. And there are many, that dairy farming developed in the entire central Himalayan region by the government. But still yet the pace is very slow. Maybe in future it may have good opportunity for developing dairy farming in the Himalayan region. So if you see the major crops in terms of the annual production, sugarcane is the first crop which has the very highest annual production. And sugarcane is grown only in the plain area, valley regions. It cannot be grown in the mountainous regions. So even though it has 85.5% area, total area of the Uttarakhand has arable. Wheat has 7.8%, rice has 6.3%, like soybean and groundnut, the groundnut also some growing. But because agro biodiversity is very high, almost all types of crops are grown. But the area under these crops are very less. Therefore, the production also very less and yield also very less. In 2012-13, the total production of the major crops of the state was over 8.9 million tons. And out of this, sugarcane was the major crop with 7.7 million tons production, followed by wheat, rice, and soybean crops. So like this. The Uttarakhand, in that central Himalayan region, that the government has started recently cultivating tea. And there are many arable lands have been devoted for cultivating tea leaves. And because agroclimatic conditions are very suitable for growing tea leaves there. And then there are very large tea gardens also. And some tea producing industries are there. And there are some very good quality tea is producing from the British time in India, but now it is renovated and more land has been devoted for the tea. And the tea is being exported to the Northeast Asian countries. Even the largest importer of tea from Uttarakhand is South Korea. But the thing is that area is very less under tea cultivation. If we devote more area under tea cultivation, it will have good income and output for sustainable livelihood of the people. So new trend of cultivating this, that agriculture is now the off-season vegetables. In the valley regions where water is ample, the farmers have transformed their land from, their grain or millets to off-season vegetable, because potential is very high crop biodiversity as well, climatic conditions are very good. So now what the people are doing, that they are converting their traditional land where the millets and grains were grown earlier. They are, converting their land into the cultivation of off-season vegetables. And they are getting good income also. But one problem is there with this off-season vegetables, lacking of market. So because these vegetables are very perishable, and they are not getting good market. So some farmers, they are still, they're not following the practices of off-season vegetables. But off-season vegetables only growing in the valley areas where water facilities are ample. So now these were something, this natural resources in terms of the water, in terms of forest, in terms of agriculture, in terms of livestock. Now we will talk about the economic development in terms of the state domestic products. So the current price of this gross state domestic product in the Central Himalayan region is 7 million USD. Average annual GSDP is 28.8%, which is very less. And largest sector is service. That is also one of the important point to understand. I will just talk about. And other sectors are tourism, agriculture, IT, and non-timber forest projects. So one very big question is here that I want to discuss before you. If you see these two bar diagrams, you will find the first one that the two bars, they are tertiary sectors. It is 2000 and 2012. So if you see that the major economic sector and the output from the economic sector, the tertiary sector having 69% of the total, that state domestic product. And agriculture sector in 2012, only 29%. Industry is very minimal or nominal because the landscape of the Central Himalayan region does not permit for industrial development or establishment of huge industries. But if you see the working population, farming, 70%. So 70% total people of the total population are engaged in farming system. But the output, it contributes only 29% of the gross state domestic products. And in tertiary sectors, only 25% people are involved, and state gross domestic product is 69. So that people leaving their agricultural land and they want to go for the service sector. And therefore, many people, they are migrating from the Central Himalayan regions. Many villages in the Central Himalayan regions, they are completely vanished, and they are called the ghost villages because people have lived there because output is less, and then population is increasing, and then all the output is not enough to feed the people, and they are now living for the search of job or search of livelihood or search of agriculture, the good services and like this, good education also. This is one of the very big reason. Even 5% people are involved in this industrial sector, but only 2% state gross domestic products, the output is. So that's why what I'm talking about is that the natural resources which are found abundantly in the Himalayan regions are not enough to feed, and then they are not harnessed properly to make the livelihood of the people sustainable. In Uttarakhand, there are some key industries, and they are very, very big industries, good industries in terms of the, for the development of this region. Tourism is one of the important sectors. And then total, the state gross domestic product is coming from tourism. Because Central Himalayan region in India is only is a place where a number of highland pilgrimages are located. And the pilgrims of almost all religions, they visit these places, they worship there, they spend money, they spend time, they stay there. So this has become one of the major sector for economic growth. And also not only the pilgrimage tourism is there is practiced natural tourism, there is practiced adventurer tourism, And then Central Himalayan region is one of the region of the country where the largest number of tourists and the largest inflow of tourists are visiting every year. Even earlier it was Jammu and Kashmir, but Jammu and Kashmir has some problem. And then all the people, they have diverted to the Central Himalayan region. And therefore, it has becoming a major sector for economic growth. Agro-based industries and food processing may be the key industries in Uttarakhand because lots of potentials are there for these industries and these kind of activities. And because you see that lots of fruits and lots of vegetables are grown there, and if the government starts food processing centers, they establish and making the food products, and also inputting the value addition, then definitely this will be one of the major industry for this economic growth of the region. Information and communication technology may be one of the key industry in Uttarakhand, and horticulture, particularly the fruits and vegetables, because the climatic conditions are very high because of the high diversity in climate, tropical, subtropical, temperate, subtemperate, cold, frigid cold. Therefore, horticulture is one of the key industry, key sector for the economic development in the Uttarakhand Himalaya. And if you see the Central Himalayan region, there are a number of pharmaceuticals and biotechnology parks, and lots of the medicines coming from these industries in the Central Himalayan region. And they are producing about 20% of the total medicine need of India. Because if you see from the eastern part of Himachal Pradesh to Sarai Belt, there are many pharmaceutical industries developed. And the Central Himalayan region is also one of the hot spots for hydroelectricity generation. And so far, there are about 30,000 megawatt capacity potential, and also producing about 10,000. And the Central Himalayan region is exporting electricity to Delhi, to Rajasthan, to Punjab, Haryana, UP, like these states, because lots of key potentials. If you see the tourism in this region, you can see some pictures also in the Ganges Valley or in other valleys, also the highland, people trekking to the highland pilgrimages, and they are going to the valley pilgrimages also, visiting there. And then this is enhancing this year itself, after the COVID pandemic, about the estimation of the tourist department, there were about 80 lakh people, they visited the 4 highland pilgrimages this year. So that much huge people going there, and definitely enhancing the economic development of this region. So there are also some cultural processions. They are proceeding towards the highland or the greater Himalaya. People, they walk for months long, and then they are doing trekking in that region. Because this is some cultural activity, and people from all over India, they are participating this cultural procession, and then definitely enhancing the development programs. There are in terms of infrastructure facilities still poor, because the entire Central Himalayan region is fragile, ecologically fragile also, and tectonically very sensitive. Recently, for last 10 days, there were 6-7 tremors of earthquake already occurred because of this earthquake taking place nowadays there, because all fragility, and is also ecologically and tectonically very sensitive area. So there are some data, I will not go like this. There are many national highways also, state highways, district roads, village roads, like this, state highway, railways also in the plain regions. And there are 13 districts in Uttarakhand. Each district has 1 helipad. 4 airports are located at Dehradun also, and some other places. So in terms of also now this infrastructure facilities are increasing, and what the government is doing, that small service sectors and tourist places, they are connecting by helicopter nowadays, chopper, small chopper. So if you want to go, you have time limit, and if you want to go early to these places, you can use the chopper from Dehradun. So now still, because among the 12 Himalayan states, Uttarakhand rank has second or third, but in terms of the overall India's rank, in terms of economic development, still it is lagging behind. I told already you the power sector, hydroelectricity power plants are there. So Uttarakhand has 30,000 megawatt capacity hydroelectricity generation. And then they are harnessing 5,000 megawatt electricity. Private sector also there, 1,000 megacity like this. And renewable energy 8%, and total power projects above 50. So that is also one of the problem for this for ecology, because in the central Himalayan region, there are more than 50 power projects running. Some are already completed. Even every 10 kilometer, 20 kilometer, there are small hydropower projects or meso or macro level hydropower projects located. So in education sector, there are schools, colleges also, but Uttarakhand is one of the states of India where education level is very high. And if you know that the name of Dehradun city, recently at international level, the schools were, given grading and award also. Doon University in Dehradun got the first award at the international level in terms of the giving education. But most of the education centers are located in the plain areas or valley areas, or where accessibility is there. And many of them are, because the remote areas, those are located in the interior of the Himalayan regions, they are very poor in terms of education sector. So again, there is plenty and scarcity within that one, within the central Himalayan regions. And in terms of health infrastructure, that region is very poor, very poor. There are only 3 base hospitals, and total beds in hospital only 7,825. Only the metro cities like Dehradun, Rishikesh, and Haridwar or Haldwani or some Nainital, Mussoorie, they have good infrastructure. Otherwise, the entire state is lagging behind in terms of health infrastructure. Industrial infrastructure is now getting footings, developing slowly but steady. 3 integrated industrial estates are located at Haridwar, Pantnagar, and Sitarganj. There are pharmacies also, IT parks also, and also growth centers. But as I told you, they are located in a certain area which are highly accessible, where you can access by air, by rail, or by road. But in the other areas which are not accessible even by road, or you have to walk for about 20-25 kilometers, still today in the era of this new era, when India is also growing in terms of development, this region is facing problem. There are only few pockets where this development has taken place. There are some other industries like biotechnology industry, agro-food processing industries, floriculture and horticulture industries, and forest products industries in this region. So they are also, giving some input for economic development, but always disparities. This is called the regional disparities. From one district to another, mountain district to plain district, if you see that there are lots of regional disparities in this region. So because Uttarakhand, that area, central Himalayan region means, as I told you, the Uttarakhand Himalaya, it got statehood only in 2000, and it is only 22 years old so far. So it has some new policies for economic growth, like new state industrial policies that was started in 2003. They have information technology project policy in 2006, hill development policy in 2008, health and population policy in 2006, and tourism policy in 2001. So the policies framework they have already done, but it started very quite late because the statehood is only got in 2000. So now when this all the policies will be implemented in a right way and right manner, definitely it will get good scope and also good pace, because it has huge natural resources. So this was now economy part. I'm coming to the environmental conditions, because we have interface, environment development interface with the resources. Uttarakhand characterizes suitable climatic conditions mainly during the summer. The river valleys, mid-altitudes, highlands, alpine pasturelands, and highly elevated snow-clad mountain peaks are spectacular. This leads to tourism development that enhance income and revenue, and environmental quality is remarkable. Thus, its sustainability index is very high, 60 to 80%. The national sustainability, this environmental sustainability index is 0 to 20%, while Uttarakhand has 60 to 80%. It means that it has a very good environmental conditions or quality. On the other hand, if you see the Uttarakhand, that central Himalayan region, natural hazards and disasters are very, very prominent. Very, very prominent. Because the Himalaya is economically poor, ecologically fragile, geographically remote, geologically unstable and sensitive, technologically and seismically very active. Therefore, the people of the central Himalayan region cannot cope with if there are huge disasters taking place. That is another problem in this region. So you can see these illustrations that how this region is being affected by the natural disasters and hazards. And there are many examples. This year also, there were flash floods and debris flow in that that central Himalayan region every year. And hundreds of people, they died due to these calamities. In 2013, there were more than 10,000 people died due to the debris flow and flash floods in the Kedarnath Valley, one of the highland pilgrimages. So that is the natural hazard disaster conditions in this region. You see that during monsoon, every day there is road block. And these all roads are leading to the very big pilgrimage tourism and another natural tourist places. So road blocks and road jams are very common phenomenon there. Flash floods, you can see this picture every year, how the flash floods, they are taking place and how it is eroding the coast area, bank area, river bank area. So sometimes it is devastating the entire area. If you see that picture, landscape vulnerability in this region, the first picture, if you can see this whole township was washed away due to the flash floods. And now this second picture, you can see that there is no rehabilitation or no settlements, because the entire area is washed away. This area also washed away, and then our present situation is this. And this is the daily the day-to-day problem during the monsoon region. And then question is there is question mark. What means what kind of development you need? The economic development that is leading for environmental degradation or for that huge natural disasters? One question is this. But and if you don't go for economic development, people is still walking to reach their houses 20, 25 kilometers, 30 kilometers sometimes. So villages are located remotely, and their economic condition is very low. The livelihood situation is very poor, critical. So how to make this region developed, keeping all these environmental conditions and hazard conditions in view? So I will talk about in my last slide when I will talk the solutions to solve these problems. Major challenges in this region: vulnerable landscape. Definitely the landscape is very much vulnerable to all kinds of hazards, even for earthquakes. Inaccessible and remote also, as I told you, the Rural areas are very, very remotely located. They are inaccessible. Traditional mode of farming system, so output is very low. Poor infrastructure facilities, so that people are out migrating. Highly vulnerable to atmospheric and terrestrial hazards, and very less agricultural land is there. Only 18% of the total geographical area. These are the major challenges. Major opportunities are there. They are this central Himalayan region is located close to the national capital region, NCR, Delhi. So it has opportunity to get development, and now government is very rapidly doing development programs between Dehradun and Delhi region, and the entire Uttarakhand also getting momentum. The Kedarnath township, the highland pilgrimages, which was washed away completely in 2013, is getting a new shape, new cultural city. Most of the work is done. The state has potential to develop social and industrial infrastructure because lots of natural resources are there. They can develop social and industrial infrastructure. Oh, hold on. I will have some water. Okay, thank you. So also Uttarakhand has potential to construct airport, rail and road transportation because it is tourism hotspot. And then Dehradun is becoming the international airport very soon. And then because hundreds of thousands of tourists they are visiting. So then this transportation development, system development is very, very important for this region. And also opportunities because high educational level, this region has national repute education centers. So it is also an opportunity for future development. Abundant natural resources, forest, water, and land. Also, as I told you, that is an opportunity. Forests are abundant and support livelihoods of the people. Landscape support for the sustainable tourism development because landscape is very spectacular. The Himalaya itself is very beautiful mountain range all over the world. So they support for sustainable tourism development. Ample water and landscape support for small-scale hydropower projects because not big projects are always big problem for, you know that for the Uttarakhand Himalaya. We have example of Tehri High Dam, which has 262-meter height, and it is not good for the Himalayan region. And it is said that when there will be any kind of the earthquake in future, which will have more than 8.2 intensity in Richter scale, the entire the Kolkata city will be drawn because due to the broken of the Tehri Dam. This is speculation by scientists. So that what I mean to say is that the big dam is not good for the economically or ecologically fit in this region. They are not sustainable. But when we make the small scale hydropower projects, like for, you know, they're supplying electricity to the rural people, local people, maybe 20 villages, 25 villages, 30 villages. That scheme also launching that. In one small drainage system, they are constructing with the people participation one small hydropower project, and that is supplying for around 50 villages of the watershed area, and they are getting electricity. So that is also very good. But still miles to go for this also. So the point is now, because I think I have, I went very fast also. I don't know today what happened. Maybe I placed my seat, I changed my seat, and then I went very fast to talk about this. But anyway, it is only 1 hour to be going, and then we will have discussion, more discussion. if you want. So what next? So I have 2 points to be developed here under this situation. Under this situation means that abundant natural resources, good environmental quality, but development is very poor, and also the entire region is prone to the natural disasters. So number 1 is development initiatives, farming sector. Agriculture is one of the potential area, horticulture is also one of the potential area, and livestock is also one of the potential area in terms of the development initiatives. So what we can go for, we cannot, completely avoid this traditional system of cultivating agriculture, but we can use some new technology for high production and productivity of the farming sector in terms of agriculture, horticulture, and also because of all the climatic conditions are very feasible and suitable, so that we can, what we can do is livestock farming, dairy farming is one of the high potential area for development. Tourism is very, very developed in this area, but it is unorganized. People are going, but no, the no support system. Sometimes it is stampede like thousands or hundreds of thousands of people going, but they did not get the facility. So it is very unorganized there. Although tourism should be organized sector, because it is a smokeless, it does not have any impact on the environment of that region also. And this region has all cultural pilgrimage, this and natural tourism places, tourist places. And water is abundant because it is called the water tower. Huge glaciers and water available. The Ganga is Brahmaputra, you can see, all originating. So that water is all going to the Bay of Bengal. We are not using them, particularly the mountain people, they are having problem. So that is good sector for development, and also forest resources sectors also very good for development. So what we have to do is that we need to frame and implement the policies. Framing policies and implementing them. What we can do is that first we can do the vulnerability analysis. As I told you that this region is very prone to the natural disasters, but it is also economically very poor. And we need also economic development as well as the environmental conservation. So whenever we are going for any development projects there, construction of infrastructure facilities, we must have this vulnerability analysis. It means that we have to analyze the region, whether it is vulnerable to natural hazards or not. And there are many tools and techniques that we can use for analyzing the vulnerability of the landscape. Otherwise, what is going on nowadays, that all the development activity is going and they are creating lots of hazard situations. And because they are not using any tools and technologies, so that is one of the problems. So in any development projects, first vulnerability analysis very rigorously, and government support and the people participation is very required for this. Sometimes the agencies which are analyzing vulnerability of the landscape, they are also doing malpractice, malfunctioning. And because of this lots of corruption system, so they are not going for this good vulnerability analysis. So this region is facing problem. So that should be very rigorous. Otherwise, the entire region will get problem and it will never be developed, and also all problem will be as such. Second is crop suitability analysis. What happened during the recent period is that the climate change has become a major problem for this region. and climate change in terms of warming of the river valleys and mid-altitudes. Therefore, most of the crops and the crop races cultivars have been vanished from the valley regions and middle altitudes. So the production, like the fruit productions, like grain productions, millet productions, they are declining nowadays. So we have to now analyze the suitability of the crops. What crop is suitable and how we can grow this crop, in which areas. Because the old areas where these crops were grown are no more because of all these changing, the warming of the river valleys and middle altitudes. I have the example of many areas where earlier there was apples grow largely, but now no apple is there. The entire apple fruit belt is disappeared. And you know that the area has shifted towards the higher elevation due to the warming or river valleys. So that suitability analysis we need. Many areas where millets were grown earlier now disappeared. Potatoes were grown earlier, now disappeared. Tomatoes were grown earlier, now disappeared. So this is the situation, continue going on. And then we have also this, and what we have to do is that redelineation of agroclimatic zones. Because the agroecological or climatic zones we have mapped earlier, and we are doing the farming system, we are practicing farming according to these agroclimatic zones. But now because of the climatic change, these agroclimatic zones are not suitable. So what we can do is that rigorous research in this region, that we have to redelineate all these agroclimatic zones. Means, as I told you, that where apple were grown earlier, now apple crop is disappeared. So where to grow the apple, because that agroecological zone that is called temperate zone, it has become now subtropical because of the warming of the river valleys. Therefore, this is required to redelineate the agroecological zones. So these are actually some policy measures that we needs to frame and implement so that the development process will continue, and as well as the the environmental conservation or reducing disasters also, that will be continued. So now I will show you some of the publications. These are all my publications. Sustainable forest management in the Himalaya. We need to manage the forest also, because large scale forest depletions are there. And during the recent periods when population is growing, and also there are the changing scenario in terms of the natural results. So that therefore we need to manage the forest, and then all story is there in the forest management. Something about towards sustainable livelihoods and ecosystems in mountain regions. This book also shows some light how to sustain the livelihoods of the Himalayan regions. Another book is from Springer. These all books are from Springer. Himalaya on the Threshold of Change. That is also very important book on this, what issues I have raised. Another book is Sustainable Tourism Development in the Himalaya. I'm talking about tourism, constants and prospects. And then I have a huge list of publications. They are all peer-reviewed Scopus index journals with impact factor. This also I have shown few of them. And then this is my last slide. You can see the priests, they are trekking to the highland mountain regions, highland pilgrimages. With this, I will stop here, because I think that I have gone very fast to talk about this. I don't know the reason anyway, but I am very much hopeful that you got this presentation somewhat. I don't know how you feel this. And if you have any questions and queries, you can ask me, and I will definitely reply to your query questions. Okay. You can also, I have given you chance to go also early leave today. That maybe next time we'll go for long discussions. Okay, then if you don't need anything, so it's okay. Okay. Okay, then with this, I think if the HRDC people will come, and wait till now, because there were, when I started presenting, there were 24 participants. Now only 20. There were 30 participants. Now only 24. So, and any how to talk with them, HRDC people. They are waiting, I think, for 1:30, 4:30.